Can everybody hear me okay?
Perfect.
Cool. All right. So our blog site, James is helpfully sharing it there. So lots of people I don't know, I'm Catherine Barton. I'm a senior delivery manager at Essex County Council. So Essex has had a blog site of some description holding a collection of different active channels since about 2017. It was a WordPress site hosted externally, so it's costing us money. And we knew that building on our LGD estate was an option. We knew there was some blog functionality available. And so eventually, really, we just picked a contract renewal deadline for the external partner and then worked to that because we knew that we could get it built through our existing kind of dev and hosting arrangements, all our devs external at Essex. We knew that our bloggers, our blog community, would be unlikely to accept a replacement that didn't offer them kind of like for like functionality. And we knew that they would want to retain all their blog history, which, as I say, dated back to 2017. So we were working within some fairly clear and defined constraints. And then James is going to tell you what we managed to build within those constraints. James.
Thanks, Catherine. So on the homepage, nothing really new. These are just featured teasers to link to the blog channels, and we used embed content lists to pull through the featured blogs. So I'm just going to jump straight through to one of the blog channels. These are featured posts. We can have 1, 2, or 3. And we've got authors, blog authors, which are not clickable. And we've got categories which are, and the categories form part of the search, as well as a keyword. As we've got multiple blogs, we did some work to restrict the search. So it's restricted to just the blog page that you're on. And I'm just going to scoot all the way down to the bottom to show a couple of things we added. So we added an RSS feed for each blog, and each blog had a newsletter on WordPress. So our comms colleagues have something called eShot. So we got the ability to embed an eShot iframe to enable the newsletters, so people can receive alerts each time they get a blog. And now I'm just going to jump straight through to a blog post. Looks, fairly standard LGD page. Nothing really new apart from comments at the bottom. I'm logged in, but for a normal user, they add their name and a comment. I'm going to jump here where I've got the back end open. So we had our title. We can select which channel the blog's going to. We can add in our categories and our authors. We can choose to hide comments or have them open, depending on if it's a sensitive topic. And then the actual page itself is a fairly straightforward LGD page, nothing new there, and related blogs as well. I'm going to pass to Callum to talk about the automated migration.
Thanks, James. I'm Callum, a product delivery manager at Essex. With our blog owners, we made the decision to migrate all 448 of the historic blogs from our free blogs on the old WordPress site to the new LGD site. This is the part that took the most significant amount of our resource time. It took our developer a lot of hours to create a custom import routine, which threw up a lot of exceptions. Had to spend a lot of time manually fixing these to allow the import to work, mainly around the blog authors and the image size and the quality of the images. So in an ideal world, probably would have just started fresh, but we decided to migrate them. I'd say if you're going to do an import, it's important to have the original source be in a better state than ours was, in terms of the accessibility and the structure. The migration's thrown up quite a lot of issues even after that we're working through, and we're going to keep fixing these issues and improving on this in the coming weeks, as we only recently went live with this. We're working with our blog owners to improve on our content standards going forwards to ensure we're putting out better, more accessible content. And we also migrated our 350 subscribers to our eShop platforms. They can continue to receive notifications when new blogs are posted. So I'll pass back over to Catherine now just to finish up.
Thanks, team. That's pretty much everything. We basically met our core goals, which was to get ourselves away from the external hosting in the deadline. We did have to give ourselves a little bit of extra time at one point, but we got there, and we kind of matched the functionality as best we could. It's not exactly like for like, but it's good enough.
I've decided to load the old one first, just because I wanted to do like a nice before and after. So don't be alarmed, this isn't the new site, just in case anyone's wondering why I'm presenting this. My name is Tilly. I'm Digital Content Officer at Trafford Council, and I'm presenting today our new Invest in Trafford website, which we will see in a minute. It's just a bit of context. We went live with our corporate site in December. and we're now working through our subsites and our microsites. Invest in Trafford was the first one we did, and it's basically just our website to attract investors and business owners to move over to Trafford in Greater Manchester, set up their base here. And we were supported by InViews for this project. So quick shout out to InViews. I know a few of them are on the call, so just a quick shout out there. So a big part of this project, it was sort of like twofold for the digital team. Half of it was improving the website itself, and the other half was sort of thinking ahead of different components that we could reuse. Because basically we've got a internal team of developers who are going to create the other microsites going forwards. So we kind of had to think, how can we improve, invest in Trafford, but also come up with reusable components that they can then use in the future to create the other sites. So it was a bit of like a twofold process. So if everyone can see my screen, this is the old website, which is just a bit crap to say the least, to put it impolitely. It just looks a bit old. It doesn't really like show off the borough somewhere to invest. It's just got things like an old Twitter feed, and we didn't really have a Twitter account. It didn't really imply that, yeah, it was like a leading area to invest in. The content was outdated, had a load of COVID-19 stuff on it. It also didn't really have a distinct purpose. It was doing a bit of everything. You can see here like business support and employment support. This was all content that should have been living on the corporate site under our jobs area. So I've just done a little tab here. Again, this was about apprenticeships that really should have been living on our apprenticeships area in our corporate site. And then this is an example of one of the pages. This is the Altrincham town, which a few of you might have heard of. Again, this just doesn't do a very good job of selling it. It's just not very visual, and it just looks a bit rubbish. And another one is this one, which is one of our strategic locations. Again, just didn't really do a very good job. You know, you can't even click into these images. Just looks like a 14-year-old blog in, you know, some like little child's made it in their room, and it just doesn't really show off the website. So I'm going to do a quick reveal. This is the new website. Can everyone see that? Perfect. So as you can see, the new homepage is super modern, super clean. It's nice, easy to scroll down. You've got statistics here. You've got your strategic locations, nice visual images, and you can click through to those, which I'll do in a minute. You've got some more stats here about the connectivity of Trafford. We've got the town centres. You've got the sectors here, and you've obviously got our nice banners down here. It just does such a better job of showing off the borough. So these are obviously these are static, but some of these you can click through. So I've got a little tab up here, but if you were to click through to Altrincham, which is down here, gives you this. So before and after to what it was like before, with just all that text and those bullet points. Got a nice banner image here. Got a map here, which is really good, which sort of puts the area in perspective. And this was a nice little component brought in by InViews. The thinking forward for the content was, before it was just a lot of content, was quite overwhelming, was to strip it back, just really talk about the highlights. And then at the end was a CTA to contact the business team. And that was sort of the new purpose of the website, was to do a little, you know, this is why you should invest in the borough. But if you want to, please contact the business team. We've obviously got images, and we've got our embedded videos as well. And if you were to click the contact our team, it takes you here. There are still a few bugs that we're trying to work through, but this is what the new contact us page looks like. So we've got our nice how we can help, which sort of, you know, tells people what the business team can do to help them. We've got our embedded contact us form. And then down here, we've got 5 really, really small links back to the corporate site. So whereas before it was, as you can see, all up here, all individual pages, part of the initial migration for the corporate was to bring all of this over to the corporate site, and then just pop these little 5 links there. So it really changed from a place to dump everything to like something with an actual purpose, like a bulletin board. And now if you do need that additional information, you can go to the corporate site. I guess just like to sum it up, everyone's really happy with it. I know that InViews have said it's one of their favorite websites they've worked on in a while, which is obviously high praise indeed. The business team is super happy because, as so many less pages. It's easier for them to, update the information and keep all updated. The digital team are really happy as well, myself included. This is the corporate website, which obviously does look quite corporate and I guess quite similar to some of the people's on this call as well. And so we were just quite happy because we're obviously trying to get all our services to stick with us and not go out and make their own websites without the digital team and the web team. So it's kind of a good idea of showing, you can have something totally unique within LGD as well. And last but not least, we got some really good reusable components to use going forwards for the next microsites as well. Cool.
Fantastic, Chili. Congratulations. Looking fab. Maybe just because we've got a few minutes, what were the new components that were developed for this? If it's easy to answer that. If not, we can come back. I can come back at the questions at the end, but that was one thing.
We have the maps, which is really good, and then we've got things just like the cards and the tiles on the front. So things with the statistics and obviously the cards with the images, which is quite good. So we'll definitely use those going forwards. We're doing like a wedding venue next, and so that can be really good. Obviously, it's another like marketing tool, so we need it to be a bit more visual than the corporate website. So yeah, things like that.
Oh, so the benefit of microsites, do it on one and you can reuse it across.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ones. Yeah, brilliant.
So, hi, I'm Shaz, one of the senior website content designers at Cumberland Council. Familiar faces, new faces, hi. So last year, December, the transport team had come to me to ask about updating our current bus timetables on our website. As you can see, it is a directory, completely inaccessible. I'll just show you a couple of the pages on there. So you've got a PDF version. We have a map as a PDF as well. So all wrong in all the right ways. And then loads of tables, horizontal scroll. Yeah, not great, especially on mobile devices. So we did a bit of a discovery piece, identified the current user experience. The service area advised that it is a statutory requirement and an obligation to publish and maintain bus routes, especially for Cumberland, where we have quite a number of providers, some rural, some that, Stagecoach and things like that. So some of the rural bus providers don't actually provide their timetables online either. So it was just really looking at publishing and maintaining bus routes and timetable information on the website. So yeah, we highlighted it's inaccessible, it's not great on a mobile device, user experience ain't great either, and the amount of resource it takes to update these manually, it's just not worth it. So we reached out to Mark and James just to see if there's something we could do. Discovery did find that the Department for Transport had some open bus information APIs that we could pull through. And so, yeah, we co-designed a really nice, accessible and efficient module where we can produce and display the national data, display it for everyone to use, address that user experience, mainly removing that manual effort for staff to maintain that information. So now James is going to take over and show the alpha module, but we are hoping for a second phase to this project to include live bus locations, maybe status data as well. But I think we'll talk about that more at LGD Camp. I'll hand over to James. And thanks, Mark, as well. Mark Conroy is on the call, so shout out to Mark and James for the hard work.
And you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Shaz. And thank you, Cumberland County Council, for including me in this process. It was a really fun project. Basically, what the module does is we tap into the BODS GTF data that's available freely on their website. No need for an API key. I think you have to create a login to get to the URLs, but the URLs are public. This then allows you can pull in, at the moment I'm doing some testing on all the data, and that brings in an awful lot of stops and times for all of the UK essentially. But there are other regions available, North East, North West, East Midlands, all sorts of things. So for Cumberland, we're mainly using the North West data. That is a much smaller import and a lot less data. But it also presented the problem of it's not specific to the areas that we want to display on the site. We obviously don't want to display all of the bus and timetables for the northwest of England. So there is the ability to use a boundary, GeoJSON coordinates. This is a simplified version I'm using. There are other more complex ones. I map it. They are very large. So it's worth doing a simplified version. And if that's, if someone using it has a problem, you can create a square bounding box. The results are not quite as accurate, but it is still doable. So if someone is having trouble getting the GeoJSON data for themselves, they can absolutely do a simplified import. What that import will do is bring in all the GTFS data and then filter it out based on the coordinates given. We did try to make sure as well that if a bus originates or ends in Cumberland, even if it's just one stop and goes outside of the area, that would be captured. So when you're looking at these bus timetables, for example, if you look at the map, you might see something in London or in Glasgow or Edinburgh, because there are bus routes originating in, say, Carlisle, that do cover that. And it does cover all of the bus operators in different areas. Another important part of it is being able to bring in the NAT10 stop enrichment. If you just bring in the straightforward BODS data, you're going to get a lot of bus stops with exactly the same name. And it's very difficult to differentiate where those bus stops are, what the direction they're going in. So the NAT10 enrichment, and this happens with the import when it comes in, gives a much more detailed view of the different stop data. We also created a submodule within the main module that allows users to create a buses homepage. From there, with some fairly simple configuration, you can update the intro text, you can search by route number, search by bus stop, you can look at bus interchanges and stations, and you can also do areas. And this is fairly easy to configure. This one's the area group, you have to know your ATCO code, the prefix, 6-character prefix for the area, but that stuff is freely available online, and we've given some examples in there of how it was done for Cumberland. So that's pretty easy and gives you a very quick and easy way to spin up a homepage and allow people to find what they need and get to where they need. Within the main module itself, we have find a bus stop. This is an example of looking for a stop or area bus station in the Carlisle area, and it's going to give you a list of stops and the routes that serve them. This is another example of just looking at the London Road area. Then you can also search bus routes, which gives you a very, very, very long. Oh, did I run out of time? Damn.
It's okay. Carry on for another. You got another minute or?
So these are the bus routes. You can see when you see who the operator is. You can click to the bus route itself. Then you can view the bus route. There is also a map of the bus and allows you to select each of the stops and go to those. You can select outbound, inbound, and Monday to Friday, Saturday to Sunday. If a bus does not run on all of those days, it will tell you that they only run on Tuesday and Friday. And we have a lovely map that allows you to see all of the stops in the area. You can click on that and click on and go and see there. It'll show you where the stop is. And then you can click from there and you will be given a bus timetable. Thank you.
Thanks. Aaron, can you see exit this page?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. This is a very small module, but we thought it might be worth sharing. This has been developed as part of our implementation of LocalGov Drupal for Newark and Sherwood. It comes from a GDS design pattern called Exit This Page. It's designed to provide users with a quick and easy way to basically mask the page that they are visiting should they be disturbed or not want someone to see. The classic use cases for pages like on subjects like domestic abuse, where someone might not want to be seen that they're looking at this. So GDS goes into quite a lot of detail about the design philosophy behind it. With something like this, obviously, the user experience is very important, that it is dependable and reliable. So we had a look around at implementations across local government, and you'll see it's a bit like cookie pop-ups. This, you get different implementations, different positions. Isle of Wight have this exit this page button down here. Gateshead have it up here on the right-hand side. Hull have it down here on the bottom right-hand corner. Bristol have it within the content at the top. This is a work in progress. So we're actually going to adopt this additional text from Bristol. This is announced to screen readers on our version, but is not visible on our implementation. So to demonstrate this, I've got a very simple test page on a vanilla install of LocalGov Drupal. This page doesn't currently have the banner, the exit this page pattern installed. I flick to the edit form for this page. We've introduced, and Newark and Sherwood, we use this for other purposes, but this is quite opinionated, but is obviously configurable and could be changeable if we did release this as a LocalGov Drupal module. We have this page settings area, and it's basically a toggle to enable exit this page. So this is done on a per page basis. If I save this and refresh the page, so we've chosen to adopt this sticky link at the top of the page that says exit this page. It's supposed to be. It's the click target is the full banner. For some reason, it's not picking that up here. So the click target is the full banner. Screen readers will also get an announcement saying that they can press the shift key 3 times to exit. The first time you press the shift key, you start to get dots appearing showing you what you've done for sighted users. When clicking the banner, we immediately mask the page. We take the user to a URL that's configurable. I'll show you that shortly. And we also lose the history in the browser. You can see I've got no back history within this browser. The only configuration in place at the moment is the destination URL. BBC Weather seems to be the one that's used by Gov UK and most other councils. I wonder if that's becoming a pattern and we should probably change that on some of our implementations. Otherwise, if someone sees you on BBC Weather, they may think that you're masking something. I don't know. But that's pretty much it. So we haven't released this yet. If there's interest from other councils, we're happy to release it. Newark and Sherwood have pretty much funded it, so they're happy for us to release this as a contributed module. So we'd be interested to hear if there's other interest, and if there is, we'll release an alpha version and gather views and comments on how we can improve it. That's it.
Hi, thanks for having me on the call. Yeah, I work for Annertech, doing development and particularly do quite a lot of migration work that we do. Luton moved to LocalGov a few months ago, and as part of that move, they migrated all their content across. They did a lot by hand, but one of the questions that I was asked was, we've got all these election results that we have. We have about 100 pages of election results. They have all with PDFs. And is there a way we can write something to migrate them from the old site to the new site? Now, it's interesting hearing the earlier talk. I think it was Essex talking about how migration was really tricky and it took a long time and it took a lot of you kind of end up in this situation where you do the bulk of the work and it goes well, and then you find that there's a long tail of little things to sort out that take a long time. So I looked at this and thought, like, whatever number we come up with to estimate that is going to be sort of simultaneously too low and too high. And yeah, the question then becomes like, should we just add all these pages by hand? So the answer was like, no, we can't really do the migration, but what we can do is we can do some of the work. We can actually do most of the work, but we can't fully automate this because what we find is that like 80% of it is a technical thing that we can do with development, and the sort of the remaining 20% is really about little oddities in the content and something that sort of needs to be cleaned up by hand. So what we said was we won't do a migration, but we'll give you, if we give you a tool whereby this wait, oh, am I still sharing?
Yep, still sharing.
I'm still sharing, good. But we will give you a tool where you can take your old site URL and we'll pick a content type and you can paste that in to a box, and we will try and populate as much as we can, and we will try and bring in the media where we can, but this will be, rather than us doing it, this is you doing it and you having to correct it, and we will help you. So when they click the button now, they are taken to a edit form, but with a lot of things filled in. So we've taken the content of this page and put it into the body. And the job now of the editor is to, well, position it in the site where they want it. They need a summary, so we didn't have that. So I think that text there maybe goes to be the summary. And there's a little bit of tidying up to do here. This, if we go right to the bottom, this text we didn't know about. It's actually part of a print style sheet on here. And it's the kind of thing where if we'd been trying to automate this, it would have come back and it said, look, we got this, yeah, we got this footer that we didn't know about. Can we do a change? And then we'd have had to write code and upload it. We're dealing with about 100 pages here, and it's a much more efficient if the editor just goes in and deletes it. I've spent like a minute or so on this page, and I can save it, and then I've got my page from the old site into the new site in LGD. And you take that and you do it, you know, we do that 100 times and it wouldn't actually take that long. We've since then said, can we take this and extend it to other content types? So I'm going to have a go at doing a news article. I found this site online, nothing to do with any council, but it just seems to be sort of random local council news. But I'm going to say, imagine this was your legacy site and you had a news article, and I'll paste that in there, and I then have, we'll ignore this, I have written, so now we now have the image, we have the title and the text, and we can go in and clean this up, say get rid of things like this. Now, to do that, I tackled 4 things. I wrote some code to pick the date. I wrote some code to pick the title and the first image and some text. And we have about, just to give you a little quick overview of the sort of technical stuff behind it and the code that there is. I've got about a minute left. So we have a few modules that we're working on, looking at contributing. First thing is a sort of high level thing, where you get your developers to write plugins. So you say, given an entire HTML page, take something from it and do something to a node. And that will be specific to the individual migration. In our case, we've got something that takes the title from the H1. We've got something that takes an image, that pick the first image and use that as a teaser, and then pick the text and use it as the body. Have I got a couple of minutes more? I'm nearly done. So the image one is a little bit more tricky because actually we don't just want to copy the URL as it is. We need to change the URL and we need to turn it into a Drupal media entity. So we delegate that to another module which we've used elsewhere, and we have contributed this at the moment. It is there. Essentially, that says, given a URL, get me a media entity. So when we come across this URL, we get back the media entity, and the module takes care of everything else behind the scenes. It takes care of the download, takes care of the checking for duplicates. It's supposed to kind of hide all of that complexity away from you. The last one came with the body text, which is, if we go back to this one, we've noticed on here, this was just a link, and actually we turned it into a media entity in Luton stuff. So we delegate that over. All of the body text goes through this transformer module, which we've done. And again, you're writing little specific things to do one thing to the document. In our case, it's sort of changing. You might change the bold tags to strong. The images get turned into Drupal media. The Luton one was specific because we said, right, when we see this link that happens to be going to a PDF that happens to be hosted on Luton, create a media entity with the URL using the other module I just told you about, and the text inside the link is the title of the entity. So that saves us quite a lot of time when we're doing content that we sort of, like, it's messy, we can't really automate it. So we tend to lean into these tools a bit. Great, thanks.
Eric, thank you. Fantastic piece of work. Lots of interest in it as well. And what I was sort of impressed with was how quickly it created that new page, like super quick. And then you can just, as you said, like get on with the editing. One question I had for you was just, and I'll come on to other questions, is the image. How do you generate the alt text to the image? Is that you getting the title of the image and then adding that in when you create the Drupal media?
Yeah, alt text is fun because in Drupal it's stored as part of the media entity. So it's central, one centralized alt text. And when you're scraping content, obviously you're seeing image. You might see the image tag and it has one alt text, and you might see it somewhere else with different alt text. So we don't really do too much with that. We just sort of say, when we come across an image tag, that media on demand function that says get me an image given a URL, it's get me an image given a URL and some alt text. So there's another parameter to it. So you have to pass the alt text. And if there's if it's a new media entity, it will just set it to whatever the alt text is. If it's already found a duplicate, it will say it might update the alt text if it wasn't there before. If there were conflicting alt texts, then all bets are off, really. Yeah, there's not much we can do about that.
Cool. Thanks, Eric. Fantastic. Okay, folks. So we're coming up to 1:45. We've got about 5 minutes for questions. There's been lots in the chat, which have basically been answered, but I wanted to cover a few verbally, partly for the video and recording and people who weren't able to be here. So just coming back up to the top with the Essex blog. So maybe Essex crew, you could come off mute and just talk through a couple of the questions. There was a couple of things about comments and moderating comments, and replying to comments as well. So more on the 2 different aspects of comments. Who wants to take that?
I can try to answer that. So firstly, yes, I forgot to show you can approve, delete. You have to approve a comment for it to appear. There is somewhere in the back end, there is a queue of them if you end up with loads. I know on the current one, there is sometimes spam trickling in. And definitely important one to have. In terms of replying, historically, that's been left up to the blog, whoever wrote the blog, if they want to reply. So each blog, one blog has one person kind of managing it, and the other one has 2. And writers, they're kind of a little bit independent in how they manage things, but writers will send them blogs, and then they'll be the ones with access to the CMS. So they'll normally tell them that they've got a comment. Normally people will choose to reply. It's usually under the council who's interested in having a chat. Was that everything on comments? There is a slight issue actually, which we haven't addressed yet, which hopefully will never happen. But if you have, because of the way the comments display, if you had hundreds and hundreds on one blog, then eventually it breaks, which our test analyst found. We've never had that many comments on one blog. So hopefully it's not a burning issue, but that was something that came up.
Interesting. Okay, thanks.
Just to mention as well that originally we thought we would end up doing likes and dislikes as well as comments, because we have that on our intranet, but then our development and external hosting teams helpfully flagged that was a bit susceptible to DDoS because it's just too easy for something to hit lots of thumbs, whereas for the comments you've got those multiple fields that you have to go through. So we quickly said, okay, no likes, just comments, that's fine.
Gotcha. And Catherine, so Will was asking about whether it's one microsite and you've got these blog channels. So you've got a microsite and you're using the LGD blogs module, and you've extended it. Is that right?
It was a little bit of a headache, this one, and I can see how there's different ways that you could design this, because I guess for quite a lot of the time it'd be perfectly possible just to have like a blog within your main council corporate site, just have it in the blog section. We realized it's actually really similar pattern to news, so a lot of our searching and filtering we've got kind of similar to as if it was a news article. But yeah, we kind of knew from the off that the old site, I think it had 5 channels, one of which had never had anything in, one of which they'd decided to stop. So we had like 3 to actively migrate, and we really didn't want to end up having 3 microsites. So we talked backwards and forwards and said, no, there needs to be this thing called a channel so that we can, again, like literally just kind of copy in WordPress, really. But the tricky things were things like, I think James mentioned, the keyword search and the tagging and the filtering. Those things were still determined to go across the whole microsite. So we had to keep saying to Anthony, no, can you constrain that to just the channel? So most of the time we've tried to, everything on the site should work as like it's just for that channel. Like the email signups are just for that channel, the searching and all of that. But obviously in the back end, it is all one microsite, yes. And interestingly, actually, if I get I'll dig out a link, but one of our other microsites has then been able to also start their own blog on their microsite with obviously no other like tech intervention. It was all just there for them to use. So that's been a nice benefit to have. I'll pop that in the chat too.
Very cool. Another benefit of microsites and reusing across microsites. Yeah,
so I don't think we're too fussy at the moment as to whether, because we've got I think 6 Drupal installs altogether for different sites, including one of them being a microsites install. So there's like umpteen places we could use blogs if we wanted to, and at the moment we're not being too strict about it if people want one, I think, but we haven't got any other requests at the minute, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Brilliant, thanks, Catherine. I think we've covered the main ones on the blogs, so I'm going to whiz on. I'm just whizzing down. So with the bus data module, there was a question about mobile, how it works on mobile, and it sounds like there's no, so what Mark says, with pretty much no CSS, so on mobile it should look the same as your current website looks on mobile.
Brilliant.
And I'm going to whiz through. So the exit button, Dan, so a question from Nova. What's the benefit of this method of using an exit that simply opens the BBC News? Does it remove the page history or anything? So there's no evidence of where the user was looking. Do you want to you did reply, but it'd be good to just hear that.
So
yeah.
It immediately masks the screen. So on click, it doesn't need to wait for an HTTP request and a response from the server. It immediately masks the screen. It removes the history of the page. So it won't appear in your history. Someone can't click the back button because someone can't look at your visited pages. The benefit of doing it in a module rather than just adding a link manually to a page is that it's based on an established pattern. I don't know how many users will understand that they can push shift 3 times, but if you could always supplement this with some additional notes. And the last point is, if you use it across your site in multiple places, you get a consistent user experience. You don't have to rely on editors adding something that might vary from area to area.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. And you shared an example of what it looks like on mobile. Basically the same approach on mobile, sticky at the top all the way across.
Full width touch target. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.